What is going on out there, IOST fans and friends? This is Evan Schindler from the Liobe Node and your favorite podcast, Inside IOST, and today I'm here to talk to you about the IOST network resources. Let's dive in. So if you've downloaded an IOST wallet or you've played some IOST dApps, you might have noticed that there's some resources involved in actually transacting on the IOST blockchain. Now these resources are called iGas and iRam. Now you might have heard of RAM before if you've ever been involved in computers or you're looking for a new computer and you want to find out the specs, and that stands for Random Access Memory. And what that is basically something that you need to put on the actual blockchain. You need to actually store information on the blockchain. Now, for most of the general users of the IOST blockchain, iRam should never really cause you any resource issues. This is more for storing permanent information on the blockchain, something like a smart contract that maybe a dApp developer would use so that you can play their game and interact with the mainnet. However, we have been asking around, and quite a few users have told us that to vote for more than 3 node candidates, you might need to purchase some iRam by staking IOST in whichever wallet you're using. Now, you really don't want to go too crazy if you're thinking about buying some iRam with IOST to do voting for additional nodes. We had Chris from the main international IOST channel, and his suggestion was actually to purchase about 2 kilobytes worth of RAM, which at the time was worth about 18 IOST. So make sure that you're using a small amount for only what you need. Now let's head over to the other side of this equation, which is iGas. Now, if you're someone that likes to play dApps on IOST or you're doing a lot of transactions, you're going to be much more familiar with this resource. Now, iGas are the transaction fees that have to be paid whenever you're transacting on the mainnet. And you might be thinking to yourself right now, wait a minute, I remember transaction fees on some of those old blockchains. Yes, paying fees on some of those old blockchains like Ethereum is something that really you don't want to do if you're doing a lot of dApp interaction, which is why IOST actually gives you a certain amount of iGas every day for small transactions that you actually won't have to pay for. So how does this work? Well, first of all, you can get iGas by staking IOST. But this IOST never actually leaves your possession. So unlike Ethereum or Bitcoin, where you have to pay a transaction fee to get the miners to pick up your transaction, on IOST, you stake the amount of IOST you want for the amount of iGas you want, and then you can use it as you please and then actually unstake to get the IOST back into your wallet. So when you stake 1 IOST, you actually get 100,000 iGas. Do with it as you may. If you're doing something like endless dice, that's a high amount of dice rolling, you might need to stake a little bit more iGas in order to play these games more often. But you might be thinking to yourself, wait a minute, I have a wallet and I've done some transactions, but I don't remember staking any iGas, so how did those transactions work? Well, by actually creating a wallet on one of your favorite wallet creators on IOST, there is actually a small fee, and what that does is it actually stakes a bit of iRam and iGas, and the iGas replenishes daily. So if you're doing small transactions, you really don't have to worry about either of these resources. I hope I did a good enough job explaining this to you guys. If you liked it, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe, ring that bell if you want to stay up to date with everything we're doing. If I missed something, go ahead and comment. We love to interact with our audience. You can also join the Liobe Telegram, where we're constantly just talking about Inside IOST and all the news and everything that's going on in the ecosystem.